Hi, I'm Rick Dior, and today we're going to take a deep dive into these Ludwig 1960s snare drums. I have 3 of them here, and then I also have one from the 70s, which I'll show you in a little bit. So this will be a long video. I'm going to play the drums here, and then I'm going to play them on the drum set. I wanted to show you the differences between these 3 types of Ludwigs. So these are known to a lot of people as Supraphonics, although they do have different names. It's the 400, which is the model number, but that's very generic. So all of these have different histories and different names that they go by officially. So this drum right here is called a Super Ludwig. It's a brass drum, chrome over brass. It's from the early 1960s. The badge has no serial number. I showed you this drum recently in a video where I took it apart and I showed you the difference between this drum and a 60s regular Ludwig drum, which is chrome over aluminum. So a few things quickly about this drum. It's heavy. It's the heaviest of all these, almost twice as heavy with the rims on. This has all original parts. So original rims, original snares, original muffler, original P83 strainer. Everything is original except the heads, which I changed out. All of these will have the same heads and the same tunings, so it's a fair comparison. So if you have doubts about what drum you have, I suggest you look at that video I did recently. But since I posted it, I got a lot of great comments from folks who know a lot about these, and so I'll add a little to it. Some people said they have different lugs to chrome over brass. It's very hard to tell, so I wouldn't go by that. But the Acrolite on my left definitely has a different lug. But these lugs, this drum and the Ludwig, look very, very similar. The main thing is the weight. The shell is a welded shell, so you can see that, and you'll see that in the video. If you look back at the video I already did, all these drums use the same exact P83 strainer, and I'll show you that. That's what it looks like. So I'm not so big on the magnet testing. The main thing with me is the weight. Also, I showed you in that other video the way the inner rim curls over on this chrome over brass. So that's how you know you got one. Also, there's no serial number, but that can be deceptive because also some drums made of Ludwig had no serial number as well. So all these drums, like I said, are tuned to an A, and I'll play them for you with the snares off and the snares on. There is a difference between them. So if someone says they're all the same, they're not. And like I said, the purpose of this video is to show you what they sound like by themselves and then on the drum set. So the first thing we'll do is talk about each of these drums as I play them. So the next one will be this Ludwig, in other words, aluminum, chrome over aluminum drum. It does have the original snares here, which are the metal snares. One quick word that I forgot to mention is the original snares on this chrome over brass and the Acrolite will share these. These are the sort of rubberized or maybe plastic ends here. They will warp over time. I put them back on here. I suggest replacing those. Keep the old snares because if you ever sell the drum, it's you don't want it to lose its value. But the a newer set of snares will make a huge difference in how that drum's going to react. But I did put the old ones on here for you purists. So back to this drum. This again has the P83 strainer, much lighter because of the aluminum. And this one has the baseball bat muffler, which was common in the 60s. And this does have a serial number. And maybe we'll zoom in on that. I'll put a picture up on the video. And again, a Remo head. These are all the same heads. And again, I'm tuning them all to an A, pretty much. So, they might be a little bit off because of the sound of the shell. Right there, you hear the difference. So I'm not sure what you're going to hear on the video, but from what I hear live, this drum, the chrome over brass, has a more focused pitch. The aluminum drum, the Ludwig drum, or the Supraphonic 400, is a bit drier, which might appeal to people. So there's no muffling on any of these drums, internal or external. And it does have a little drier sound. Now compare it to this one. Sometimes these P83 strainers will stick on you. They're both pretty wet sounding drums with the original snare. It's one thing I like about them. It's a wet sounding snare drum. All right, you always get that real snarey response. Next, to my left, to your right, we have this Acrolite, 1960s Acrolite. It's got an aluminum shell, not covered with chrome. And this one has the matte finish. I like this finish. And the original snares, once again. All original parts except for the heads. So this is an 8-lug snare drum. These are 10-lug snare drums. Not a big deal, really, at all. I don't think that affects the sound too much. It's easy to tune. 8 lugs is fine. So that's one small detail, though, you might want to know. We'll compare it with this other Supraphonic, or this Supraphonic. They're similar. The Acrolite's a little bit darker and even more dry. If you like a dry snare drum, it's great. But you still get that wet snare response with these. And now we'll compare it to the chrome over brass drum. I'm going to tighten these snares up just a little. Again, they're very similar. So these chrome over brass drums can go for as much as $2,000. Crazy, right? The market is just driving up the price. Originally, they were nothing close to that, a couple $100 probably, at the most. This Acrolite continues to be the best deal in the world for snare drums. It is a great, great snare drum. And they made so many of these things. It was sort of the starter beginner drum for many, many years that Ludwig made. And it's just a great drum. I always recommend this drum to people saying, I just need a good all-round snare drum. Can't go wrong with an Acrolite. And I think the 60s drums, personally, sound better than the later ones. I don't know why, but I have 7 Acrolites and I have 8 of these other Supras. And the 60s Acrolites I have 2 of those. They just sound better to me. So if you're going to try to find an Acrolite, try to find a 60s drum. But the 70s, 80s, even the modern ones are just fine. All right, but again, the market's starting to drive up the price on these as well. Used to be able to get these things for under $100. Most of mine I bought for that. So we're going to play these all now with the snares off for you, so you can hear them. We'll start with the chrome over brass. So this drum, I put a head on this recently. It's dropping a little. I'll bring it up. So that's something that'll happen when you do put a head on. When I did that recent video, I changed the head. All right. Much closer. So what I've done is I've taken these drums down a whole step to G. That tuning you heard earlier was an A. So an A on top and an F sharp on the bottom. So it's a minor third below. Now I kept my F sharp on the bottom, but I tuned these now to a G. So you'll hear it's pretty close. But they all have a different timbre, so that's what you're hearing more than anything. So we're going to cover these up and I'll play each of these for you with the lower tuning. So this is the chrome over brass. And here's the Supraphonic Ludwig. And here is the Acrolite. So, my observations. Well, first of all, they're all completely different, as you heard there. The Acrolite, to me, sounds better lower. So my tuning normally for the Acrolite is a G. My tuning on top. My tuning for these other drums is an A. That's how I do it, the best tuning. So this drum just has, it just works lower, really. It doesn't sound as good. It sounds thin, higher. When you tune it lower, it gets a little beef to it. And you're hearing residual sound from these, and that's not fair, so we'll put the mufflers on. And I'll play this one, chrome over brass. Now this drum sounds good at all tunings. It really does. Sounds great this low. So sometimes I can use this one as a high and a low drum, and that's one of the benefits to the Super Ludwig, the chrome over brass. This drum, however, sounds a little bit washy low. So let me compare the Supraphonic 400 to the Acrolite. So from where I am standing, the Acrolite sounds better, much better, at a lower tuning than this. So we'll go ahead and put these on the drum set. But before we do, I almost forgot, I wanted to show you a 70s Ludwig, and you know it's the 70s. This is a 400 Supraphonic, almost in mint condition. This was new old stock when I bought it. So it had been wrapped up. So basically I'm waiting for it to oxidize, but it has not done that. All these 70s drums did that. The chrome flaked off. It was a problem with the aluminum, I'm sure. Maybe kind of dirty or whatever. But I could be wrong. But the this one is in basically brand new condition. So it's kind of an experiment. I'm cleaning it twice a year, and I'm leaving it in a case with some silica so it doesn't get any moisture in there. But you see that 70s badge there. So I'll play this for you. Like I said, this is a long video. And I wanted to compare it to this other Supraphonic. So we'll put this chrome over brass over there. Same weight, same everything, except the strainers are different. And the tuning might be different too, so let's do that. Whoa. And I have to tune these up anyway when I do the drum set, but we'll take them down now so we can have a fair comparison. A little bit different pitch, obviously. I could just tell you from personal experience, they're pretty much the same. This is the 70s, this is the 60s. The only difference is that the 70s drums will start to flake. And I've not had a 60s drum flake. So I think it must have been an issue, and some of you have written to me about it, an issue with the way they treated the aluminum. You know, whatever process, chemical process, something changed in the 70s compared to the 60s. So they're basically going to be the same drum. Still a great drum though. Of course the muffler is different. It's round here, and the 60s most likely will have a baseball bat muffler. Okay, on to the drum set. So here we are at the drum set. We'll start with the Acrolite first. This is an old set of 1960s, early 60s Ludwig drums. Thought it was suitable to use these with these snare drums. And you saw these in some recent videos that I did about restoring this kit. All the cymbals are old Zildjians from the 50s and 60s. I'll list what they are in the description. And so I'll play some pretty simple stuff, each drum for a couple minutes, and then we'll talk about it. So that was the low tuning, and now we'll do a high tuning. So my impressions, a dry snare drum, a little thinner than what I'd use for, any kind of big rock, but for general playing, it's great. It's very responsive. It sounds better at a lower tuning. At this tuning, the Acrolite always sounds a little choked to me. So now we'll go on to the next drum. We'll do this Supraphonic 60s drum. So this is the aluminum drum, the Ludwig 400, and we'll start with the low tuning. And now we'll tune it up. So my impressions of this drum, it's a great sounding drum, feels good. When it's tuned up tight, it sounds choked to me, like the Acrolite. But, you know, some of you might like that really kind of tight, choked sound. It sounds great for certain kinds of funk and things like that, but not an all-around drum by any means. More of a rock drum at a low tuning. Sounds great. So now we'll go to the chrome over brass drum. So that's the low tuning of this chrome over brass Super Ludwig, and feels thicker. It feels better when I play it just a little bit. It feels like there's more meat there. Great low rock drum. So now we'll tune her up. So a great feeling drum, sounds great high, sounds great low. The best Ludwig all-around drum, besides my Black Beauty, which I've done several videos, so you can look back and hear that drum. That is not here today, otherwise I would have included it. It's at another studio. So the verdict is they all sound good. You can't go wrong really with any of them. Price is always going to be an object here. So if price is an object, the Acrolite is your guy. Those can be had for still under $300, where I think these Supraphonics are going for around maybe $500, that area, one that's in good shape. Finally, we have this Ludwig 1970s drum, and this is the one I showed you that didn't have the pinning happening yet. And I put a heavier head on here so you could hear what it sounds like with an Emperor. A lot of times I'll use an Emperor head if I have a pretty heavy hitting gig over a couple days. The head lasts a lot longer than an Ambassador. Okay, so we'll play a little with this at a low tuning first. will take it up now. So a great drum, sounds pretty much like the other one, the other Ludwig 400. That's the same drum basically. But with this thicker head, it does not ring as much. So I'm not using any kind of muffling, internal or external. So that's one thing. And the head will last a lot longer. So I hope you enjoyed this video quite a bit. I really enjoyed making it. I love hearing the differences of these drums. Sometimes what you hear in person when you're playing them isn't what you hear in the control room, so I'm excited to go in there and listen. But you really can't go wrong with any of these drums. They're all a little bit different. If price is an object, the Acrolite is your guy because it's still fairly cheap as far as snare drums go, and it does sound great. Not the best all-around drum, but a great rock drum that you can use in those kinds of situations, and always, you know, nothing's going to break on it. It's got a good strainer, good shell, always round, so it's not going to be an issue. So we'll see you next time. Thanks.